Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm so pleased we're here because today's video is going out on the 1st of August, which is Yorkshire Day. And I thought, who better to spend it with than the Brontë family? Well, and you lot, of course. So today we're going to look at what makes the Brontës so Yorkshire, as the title says, but also how Yorkshire appears across all the Brontë sisters' novels. The places, the people, the language, and how Yorkshire shaped the household itself. Because even though not everyone in the parsonage was born in Yorkshire, this county, it made a real mark on each of them, just like it has me over the years. I mean, Yorkshire's known for many things, obviously Yorkshire tea, important, the wild moors, the gentle dales, the proud Yorkshire rose, and the famously cold weather. And of course, that plain-speaking, no-nonsense attitude that Yorkshire folk are famous for. It's a place of hard work, warm community and spirit, and dry humour that cuts straight to the heart of things. That spirit runs through the Brontës family stories and their lives just as much as the heather and the stone of the moors. So keep watching as we explore this beautiful countryside and chat about how Yorkshire got under the skin of the Brontës, just like it has me over the years. Let's start with the obvious place, the books. I mean, Yorkshire runs like a spine through the Brontë sisters' novels, whether it's set in the scenery or the spirit. This county shows up time and time again. Even in their early work written as children, you can spot the Yorkshire influence. I mean, you've got the landscape, the mood, the characters, and they're all rooted in the moors and the villages that they knew. Emily's Wuthering Heights is probably the most Yorkshire of the lot. I mean, it's set entirely on the moors. It's full of rough winds and tangled emotions, and of course that strange blend of beauty and brutality that Yorkshire does so well. Wuthering Heights itself might be fictional, but Totwithens, which is a place near Haworth, is widely believed to be that inspiration. You have Thrushcross Grange, Gimmerton, Penistone Crag, and you of course have those long, lonely, winding lanes through the heather. It's a novel soaked in place. I mean, you can practically feel the damp in your boots. I mean, Lockwood, he said in the beginning, "Yesterday afternoon, set in misty and cold, I had half a mind to spend it by my study fire instead of wading through heath and mud to Wuthering Heights." I mean, that moment immediately roots you in that rugged landscape and that restless weather or relentless weather. Charlotte's novels are more varied in setting, but Yorkshire is never far off. I mean, in Shirley, which is often considered her sort of most Yorkshire book, is set in a landscape shaped by early industrial tensions, particularly around the mill towns of the West Riding. The novel reflects real life unrest and class division, and typical of that period, although of course Charlotte doesn't name particular places. Rather than pinning that fictional parish of Bryfield and Nutley to exact modern day villages, it's more accurate to say that Charlotte drew all on her experiences teaching at Roe Head School and visiting sort of communities and villages around Halifax and Birstall when she created her settings. A remembered line from Caroline Helstone expresses her mixed admiration and affection for the county, and she says, "This Yorkshire is a queer place, full of sturdy people with their own notions." I mean, that sentence, you know, whether slightly patronised or reimagined, captures Charlotte's tone towards real Yorkshire. It captures both affection and respect for the county's characters. I mean, even Jane Eyre, even though set in different locations, unmistakably has that Yorkshire texture. I mean, when Jane reaches the moors at the end, she's hungry and lost and utterly alone, and the terrain kind of reflects that inner state. Morton, her cousin's village, has that distinct northern feel about it. I mean, you've got St John Rivers, the very strange cousin, with his moral rigidity and that restraint. Jane observes the countryside. She says, I looked on the hills. It was not the fashion to take a walk that morning, for all was quiet. I mean, that quiet, that expanse, that sense of isolation. I mean, it feels Yorkshire through and through. Villette obviously takes us abroad, but Lucy Snow's character, to me, remains grounded in Yorkshire manners. Her control, her silence, her reserve, that's just shaped by a culture where restraint is a form of strength. Anne's novel brings us obviously to the coast. I mean, we've got Agnes Grey and the tenant of Wildfowl Hall. They're all tied to places like Scarborough and the countryside around it. I mean, Anne writes, the air was mild and balmy and there was a smell of seaweed in the air. Perfect. I mean, I love that small detail, yet it instantly makes me think of Scarborough coastline. I mean, in Wildfowl Hall, those quiet strands of countryside, those bleak weather and that moral tension are no less potent. I mean, Anne's moral clarity and close observation of nature just reflects that Yorkshire sensibility. Even the institutions which they wrote about, I mean, you've got Lowood School and the grand but bleak country houses and those modern clergymen's homes. I mean, they reflect the buildings that they knew in Yorkshire and the villages that they saw. Cowan Bridge School, where Charlotte and her sister briefly boarded, became the model, obviously, for Lowood and Jane Eyre. Red House in Gomersall is widely believed to have inspired Briarmains in Shirley. I can't say that. And the tenant of Wildfowl Hall may have drawn on the lonely moorland houses that Anne saw on her walks during her time at Haworth or when she was at Scarborough. So, although each sister wrote a different kind of novel, they all kept Yorkshire close to the page. Dialect, language, weather, people, it's all there. I mean, Yorkshire didn't just shape their imagination, it actually fed them. You never see this side when I'm trying to film a video and I've just come back from holiday. It's the school holidays as well. The house is an absolute mess. I've got my daughter at home. I need to do a food shop, all those pressures that we put on ourselves. And I'm like, I need to do a video. So I've researched and I've, done everything I need to do for it. But now I need to record it and my brain is like, I can't do it. But I can see my daughter in the stream looking mightily unhappy about something. And then my mum radar goes, guilt, guilt. Weird, isn't it? I might have a picnic now, I don't know. I don't know. We've just had a picnic and I thought I would show you these little cakes that Emily, my daughter, made yesterday. Little with icing, little sponge cakes with icing, very nice. She's called them surprise cakes because some of them, she's dug a hole out of them and put a surprise sweet inside and then iced over the top of it. So you never quite know what you're going to get. And of course, accompanied with good old cup of tea, Yorkshire tea in a flask, which always tastes a bit different. So yes, we've just had sandwiches. The dog has tried to eat the sandwiches, but it's okay. It's okay. We're surviving, aren't we, dog? He's now sat here because I have this in my hand. And he's very, no, not doggy cake, human cake. Right, I'm going to go and eat my cake and have my tea. Bye. The landscape. One thing, but Yorkshire also appears in the way the Brontë characters speak, behave, and of course they see the world. Take good old Nellie Dean in Wuthering Heights, of course. She's loyal, she's practical, and just a little bit gossipy. I mean, that's very Yorkshire. Could she have been inspired by the Bronte's own Tabby? Who knows? But Nellie is the kind of woman who keeps things going behind the scene. She tells it like it is, and she doesn't go in for any of that sentimentality nonsense. I mean, she is warm, there is warmth there, but it's earned. And then, of course, good old Joseph in Wuthering Heights. He's a cantankerous old servant written in full Yorkshire dialect. And I'm sure this section of the book has put some people off reading any further because it's really hard to get your head round to start off with. I mean, he's grumbling, he's self-righteous, and yep, completely embedded in his own world. Even when it was published, readers at the time struggled with his lines because Emily didn't water down the dialect. She wrote him as she heard the men in the village speak, completely unfiltered. I mean, here's an example, and there is no way I am going to attempt to say it because I can't do Yorkshire. So I've called in the help of my lovely husband, who is going to say this bit for me.
What you here for? Master's down in fold. Go round by its end at Lace.
Basically, the translation is,
what are you here for? The master's down in the fold. Go round by the end of the barn.
Of course it does. And another example, which I like, is,
Yon lad gets war and war. He's left year and full swing, and Mrs. Pony has trodden down 2 rigs of corn and plotted through right o'er into meadow.
Again, a translation for you because we do need it.
The boy gets worse and worse. He left the gate open and Mrs. Pony's trodden down 2 rigs of corn and wandered through right into the meadow.
I mean, even now you hear those kind of phrases, nout and owd man and fair capped in Yorkshire villages. I mean, you might be in the local shop and you kind of overhear a conversation and you can really only pick out 1 or 2 standard English words. The rest is Yorkshire dialect. It's got a real rhythm to it. And to me, that feels like it's keeping everything alive. And it absolutely echoes the dialogue that you find in the Brontës books. I mean, Yorkshire words turn up across the novel. In Agnes Grey, there's a mention of a ginnel, which is a narrow passageway. And in Shirley, Charlotte uses the phrase
Nobbut
and out and nout, and they all pop up across her work. These weren't thrown in for colour, they were simply how people around them spoke. The Brontës didn't have to sort of invent local dialect, they grew up in it, around it. Dialect here also revealed class and social nuances. I mean, the rich often spoke differently from the servants and the villagers. And by preserving these voices, the Brontës captured a way of speaking that was changing fast, giving us sort of this rare window into the Yorkshire past. Think about Gilbert Markham in The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I mean, he's another example. He's a typical Yorkshire man. He's sensible, he's reserved, and he's honest to a fault. And Anne didn't have to write him as a fantasy figure, but as a Yorkshireman. I mean, these men don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, but when they love, they really do it, and they do it deeply and with purpose. They're very proud, and they're so hard-working and careful with their words, and also their money. I mean, there's an ongoing joke about how careful Yorkshiremen are with their money. The phrase I hear all the time is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And around here, that's taken to an extreme. Everything can be fixed with billy band. And for those of you who don't know what billy band is, it's that string that comes wrapped around bales of hay and straw. It gets saved and is used everywhere. I mean, you find it in coat pockets, you find it in the glove box of your car, in the shed, you name it, it's everywhere. And it's really strong, so it gets used for everything. Mending a fence, holding a piece of engine together. Anyway, back to the topic. Even in Jane Eyre, there's a moment when Rochester is teasing Jane and she says, I'm not talking to you now. It is my way. It is the way I talk with people whom I like. I mean, that dry honesty, that quiet self-assurance, I mean, it's a very Yorkshire. Brontë women, fictional or otherwise, they just don't mess about. So when you talk about the Brontës writing Yorkshire, we're not just talking about Heather and Moorland, we're talking about the voices in the kitchen or the conversations overheard in the parsonage yard or, I don't know, over a pint of beer in the Black Bull. They wrote what they knew, and of course what they knew more than anything was the soul of Yorkshire people. Now let's turn to the Brontë household itself, because although the family is sort of strongly associated with Yorkshire, the voices inside the parsonage were far from uniform. I mean, in fact, it had a real mixture of accents, traditions and the way of speaking. I mean, you got Patrick Brontë, the father, who was Irish. He was born in County Down, and he would have carried that sort of lovely accent with him when he arrived in England. He changed the spelling of his name, as we know, from Brontë to Brontë, and he made a life for himself in Yorkshire. But his roots, I think, firmly remained across the Irish Sea. He kept in touch with his brother Hugh, who was still in Ireland, and Patrick took great interest, obviously, in all Irish affairs, reading about them in the newspaper. His accent may have softened over time, as often it does, but that beautiful Irish lilt would never have disappeared completely. And to the people of Haworth, he must have sounded very different, a little foreign maybe, but he was the curate and he earned their respect. And then, of course, you've got Patrick's wife, Maria, the children's mother, who was from Cornwall. She died when they were still very young, but her voice must have left some sort of impression with them. And of course, then there was Maria's sister, Anne Bramwell, Elizabeth, who came all the way from Penzance to help raise Maria's children after she died. Just imagine the contrast, you know, from the soft air of Cornish coast to a drafty house on the edge of the Yorkshire moors. I mean, it must have felt completely alien to her at first. Not just the climate, but the customs, the food, even the way people spoke. And yet she stayed. She brought stories, structure, and a strong Methodist influence, and the steady presence the children so desperately needed. It's often said that she hated the cold and that she would wear her pattens, which are these like little iron raised shoes, inside the house to keep her feet off the freezing flagstone floors. I mean, she must have sounded very different to Tabby and Martha, but somehow it all kind of blended together. And of course, then we have Tabby, the Brontes' long-serving housekeeper, and Martha, who worked alongside her, both born and bred in Haworth, speaking in that very broad Yorkshire and full of local knowledge and, yeah, very Yorkshire. Tabby was no doubt the source of countless tales, proverbs, domestic customs and little sayings passed down through generations. And through her, the children absorbed Yorkshire dialect and domestic rhythm. The everyday music of village life, really. I mean, she helped raise them and she helped root them in the community. This mixture of accents and influence likely made the children sensitive to language and characters, giving them the ear for dialect and that skill for creating distinctive voices and the sense that words reveal personalities and places. It's one reason their novels ring so true. I mean, it's something I recognise myself. I mean, I was born and bred in the south of England, and when I first moved to Yorkshire about 16 years ago, I found the locals often looked at me a little bit sideways, and they would always say, "You're not from round here, are you?" I mean, it wasn't unkind, it was just curious. But as soon as I explained I'd married a Yorkshireman and moved up here, they was like, "Oh, okay," and they accepted me. Not that everywhere in Yorkshire is like that, but small villages do tend to work that way. I mean, the running joke is you only truly get accepted if you've been here 20 years, and I'm nearly there. Gosh, have I been here that long? Wow. See, just time flies, but I wouldn't go back. I love Yorkshire too much. I don't want to go back to the south. So if I felt that, imagine what it would have been like in the early 1800s. Inside the parsonage, you had an Irish father, a Cornish mother, and then a Cornish aunt, Yorkshire servants, Yorkshire neighbours and friends and what have you. And the Brontë children absorbed it all. It must have been fascinating at sort of this blend of voices and influences. And yet, when you read their novels, it's that Yorkshire voice that rings out the strongest. I've got a dog running around now. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. If you've ever visited the Yorkshire moors, you'll know what I mean when I say the landscape has a mood all of its own. It doesn't just sit there looking pretty, it acts, it moves, it breathes. One minute the sky is clear, next minute heavy rain, getting soaked, or you're getting whipped by the wind. The moors aren't soft or tame, they're unpredictable, they're dramatic, and sometimes just that little bit frightening. And it isn't just the wind and the rain, even though we do get a lot of that. Winters in Haworth could be absolutely brutal. Snow often cut through the village and cut it off completely. The steep cobbled lanes, including Main Street, could become sort of treacherous and icy. And as we know, poor Tabby, their loyal servant, once actually broke her leg after slipping on Main Street in bad weather. I mean, in the upper parts of the village, snow could lie for days or even weeks. I mean, you didn't just live through it, you had to sort of brace yourself and get on with it. This kind of weather wasn't just something the Brontës observed, they lived it, they walked it, they saw it outside their window. It crept into their stories without even trying. I mean, the most obvious example, of course, is Wuthering Heights. You can't separate the wildness of that novel from the landscape. The storms, the isolation, the rawness of the air, it's not just a setting, it's a state of mind. I mean, you've got Cathy and Heathcliff. They don't just run wild on the moors, they are wild, just like the moors. But you see it in Jane Eyre too. I mean, you think of that lightning strike that splits the chestnut tree in two. It's just a powerful symbol, but it's also something you could absolutely imagine happening in a Yorkshire storm. I mean, all those misty, freezing mornings as Jane trugs through unfamiliar countryside after fleeing Thornfield. I mean, Charlotte uses weather to deepen emotion, to say, without saying, how her characters feel. Even in Agnes Grey in The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, the weather often mirrors the emotional tone. Biting winds, heavy rain, endless grey days. Anne's world is more realistic than romantic, but still the elements are there and it shaped the people living through them. The harsh weather might have limited travel and encouraged close family ties and imagination, making the parsonage that place of dreams against the storm. The Brontës weren't writing the imaginary landscape or a faraway place. They were writing the world that was just outside their window. And that world was Yorkshire in all its weather beauty. I mean, when I first moved to Yorkshire, I spent the first 3 months living in about 5 layers of clothes. I mean, it was hard winter and I could not warm up. And it took a while to get used to the change in the weather and the temperatures and you know, how cold a winter could get. I'm a lot better now, but I'm still classed as a soft southerner because I just don't like being cold. Well, we've moved to a new spot, but I don't know how long we're going to stay because we've got flies. Emily decided she needed a better bit of water to play in. So we've come to this section here, the stream's here, and then it goes off into a Y shape behind you. And she's exploring, finding stones, I don't know, but she's having a nice time and the dog's helping. So I've set up here beside the stream, which makes me think of Meeting of the Waters, you know, the Brontë waterfall, and how they used to sit there, the sisters would sit and write and, you know, let their imagination go wild to the sound of the water. So I'm feeling my inner Brontë, even over here in North Yorkshire at the moment. But yeah, so the dog keeps coming over, so you might see him, and he's a bit wet. So yeah. Anyway, where were we? Do you have to dig a hole right by me? I'm getting eaten by flies. We might have to move in a minute. So here I am trying to do a video, a talk, and look what's happening down beside me. The dog has decided he wants to dig a hole right beside me. What's she doing? Thanks. Why do I do these things to me? Meanwhile, my daughter is climbing on the bank of the stream in her wellies, so you know, that's something. But I got a feeling, yeah, she's going to be absolutely filthy by the time we get back to the car. And I think she's just sat on a thistle. The Brontë children were raised in a household steeped in religion, not in a strict sort of fire and brimstone kind of way, but in a deeply thoughtful, moral way that reflected the religious culture of Yorkshire villages at that time. Yorkshire in the early 1800s was a place of religious activity and change. Alongside the Church of England, Methodism was spreading rapidly. Villages across the county saw the building of new chapels, and people were being introduced to a way of worship that emphasised personal responsibility, plain speaking, hard work and moral discipline. The Wesleyanarian, I can't say, their message struck a chord in Yorkshire's industrial and rural communities, where life was often tough and people appreciated a faith that felt close to daily experience. This descending religious presence influenced not just worship, but also social life and attitudes, encouraging themed social justice, individual consequences, themes the Brontës explored in their writing. Patrick Brontë, as the local curate, wasn't just a man of the cloth. He was also an educator and a campaigner for public health, and someone who believed strongly in self-discipline and moral progress. As a Church of England clergyman with evangelical leanings, his version of Christianity was serious, practical, and rooted in doing good, and echoes of those Methodist values that we talked about. And then you've got lovely Aunt Bramwell, who brought her Methodist upbringing from Cornwall, which was like, personal responsibility, discipline, like we said. Her belief would have blended well with the growing Methodist presence in Yorkshire and certainly influenced the children's upbringing. That mix of Anglican and Methodist values filtered right down to the Brontë children. I mean, you can see it in how seriously they took their work, how committed they were to truth, to consequences, to justice, and all that shows up in their writing. I mean, let's look at Jane Eyre. It's kind of like a moral novel, really, isn't it? I mean, Jane won't compromise her integrity even when it breaks her heart. She leaves Rochester because it's the right thing to do. I mean, that's Yorkshire backbone. That's like good sense of what's right and wrong, even when it really hurts. Anne is even more direct. In The Tenant of Wildfire Hall, she takes a real stand against alcohol abuse, domestic cruelty, and the way of Victorian society. I mean, it's brave stuff, but also Yorkshire. It's practical, plain speaking, not afraid to call things out. And Emily, well, wet dog. No! No! You absolute toe rag! No! Go away, you're wet! So, go on, go away. Go on. I've got huge paw prints all over my legs, and my camera is now covered in water splatter, and my once white shirt, I don't know if you can see it, oops, sorry microphone, it's now got black bits all over it. Thanks, dog. No, I don't want you near me. My daughter's just down here laughing her socks off because it's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny. We've got a plane going over. Anything else wants to come in, Even though the way the clouds are looking, it might rain as well. Oh no! Oh, right. I have no idea where I was. I'm going to have to look back and find out what I was talking about. And Emily, well, she's harder to place, but even she has that strong moral code. It's not the same as the others, but you can feel that sense of justice, of consequences, woven through Wuthering Heights. The Brontës didn't just inherit a religious tradition, they reshaped it, they questioned it, they wrote through it. And that moral seriousness, that urge to explore what's right and wrong, is a very human way. It's one of the most Yorkshire things, I would say, about them. We don't often talk about the Brontës being funny, but they absolutely were, in a very sort of practical, very Yorkshire way, of course. It's that dry, deadpan humour you still hear today in village pubs or in the corner shop. It's not flashy or exaggerated, but it cuts through nonsense with perfect timing. The Brontës used it, not constantly, but enough to show they knew how to laugh and how to sort of cut through all that pompousness, how to poke fun when it was needed. I mean, Charlotte especially had a gift for it. In Jane Eyre, she brings Mr. Brocklehurst to life as this towering hypocrite with a ridiculous hairdo and a self-important way of speaking. You're not meant to fear him, you're meant to sort of roll your eyes at him. I mean, she does the same with Mrs. Reed and at the teachers at Lowood. There's always this sense of deflating the puffed up, but quietly and cleverly, and with a bit of a smirk too. I mean, one of the most memorable moments is when Mr. Brocklehurst asks Jane what she must do to avoid going to hell, and she replies in a very deadpan way, "I must keep in good health and not die." I mean, that's not just funny, that's bold. It shows us Jane's spirit in Charlotte's too. I mean, Anne's humour is gentler, but still clear. She gives us that ridiculous Matilda Murray and Agnes Grey, always fainting or pouting or sulking. And she lets us enjoy the silliness without having to sort of spell it out. Anne observes, and through her observations we laugh. I mean, there's quiet mischief in how she captures social stupidness, really. And Emily, well, I mean, Emily's humour is sharper, often darker. Characters like Joseph in Wuthering Heights with his thick dialect and his fire and brimstone warnings, I mean, that verges on sort of a caricature of a Yorkshireman. You get the sense that Emily's watching it all from the corner of the room, amused and obviously quietly judging. I mean, this wasn't humour for the sake of it. It was rooted in the personality, in setting, and that Yorkshire refusal to be too serious about oneself. The Brontës might be known for tragedy and passion, but they also understood the stupidness of people and used humour as both a tool for critique as well as coping with the hardness of life. The Yorkshire temperament, plain speaking, determined and a bit stubborn, runs through the Brontës' work. It's there in their heroines who won't be told what to do, in the characters who fight for what they believe is right, even when it is difficult. I mean, think of Jane Eyre refusing to stay with Rochester once she learns the truth. Think of Helen Huntingdon in The Tenant of Wildfire Hall, standing up to her abusive husband and walking away with her son. I mean, these women aren't passive, they're principled, they take action. They're not just characters that have been written. That's true Yorkshire grit. And even when the novels move away from the Yorkshire setting, the values are still there. In Villette, Lucy Snow is cautious and reserved, but underneath she's fiercely independent. That quiet strength, that moral clarity feels rooted in something very local and very personal. There's something about the characters' resilience, their ability to endure, that reflects life on the moors, in those stone houses with the wind howling around. Strength without showiness, feeling things deeply but not always expressing them. The Brontës understood that, and they wrote about it. Austerity. Ems, shut up.
Filming with children is annoyingly hard.
Frank! Come on! Oi! Dog! Woo! Nearly fell over. Come on! Come on! Good boy. Oh, dog. Damp dog. Oh, it's ridiculous, but it's like a rhyme and it feels very... He kept in touch with his brother Hugh. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that. Oh, try again. Hold on. I think we need a battery. Oh, the joy of filming outside. The battery doesn't last very long. Oh, I keep sneezing still. While I was away on holiday in France, I stopped taking my hay fever tablets because it didn't really bother me out there and I thought I'm fine. But of course I come back to the UK, still haven't taken any hay fever tablets now for a little while. And yeah, I'm suffering. But hey, can't have it all. Right, let's plug in the battery. That mix of So there we are, from the dialect to the landscape, from the humour to the values. Yorkshire shaped the Brontës in ways that go far beyond the setting of their stories. It wasn't just where they lived, it was how they thought, how they spoke, how they saw the world. I think that's part of the reason why their books still resonate today. They're fierce, they're honest, but full of feeling and principle, but of course never showy. Just like the country they're called home, really, when you think about it. Anyway, I've got some questions for you this week. Number 1, which Brontë novel do you think feels the most Yorkshire? Number 2, who is your favourite Yorkshire character? Nellie, Joseph, or someone else? Let me know. And number 3, what do you think the sisters' writing would have been like if they'd grown up in, say, Cornwall? Let me know. So anyway, on this Yorkshire Day, we raise a cup of tea to the Brontë sisters. Hurrah! And of course to Yorkshire. Hurrah! Thank you for watching today. I mean, if you like this video, please do the whole likey, subscribey thing, because it really does help me out and it lets YouTube know that we want to watch more Brontë content. Have a good weekend and take care, and I will see you the Friday after next for more Brontë adventures. See you soon. Bye.